Have you ever updated the nominee on your bank account? Stepped back and thought, well, that is sorted. My family is safe if anything happens to me. If you have, you're absolutely not alone. Millions of Indian investors do this every single year. We log into our mutual fund portals, we open our banking apps, we type in a name, verify the OTP, and assume we have just secured our financial future. But what if I told you that in the eyes of Indian law, simply putting someone's name in that nominee box does not actually make them the legal owner of your money? What if that simple assumption is the exact reason why billions of rupees are currently stuck in legal disputes and frozen accounts across India right now? This is one of the most dangerous blind spots for investors today. But when it comes to the final transfer of that wealth, we rely on incomplete information. We assume the system works in a way that it legally does not. Right now, there are thousands of families running between bank branches and civil courts fighting over assets because the original investor thought a nomination was the exact same thing as a legal inheritance. Why does this matter to you today? Because securing your wealth is just as critical as building it. If you have a single bank account, a provident fund, a demat account, or even a basic life insurance policy, understanding the legal line between who holds your money and who actually owns your money is non-negotiable. Let us break down exactly how this machinery works without the legal jargon, so your wealth actually goes to the people you intend it to. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The single biggest misconception spreading across middle-class households is this very specific thought process. I added my brother as a nominee, so my wealth will automatically go to him and he can keep it. Or I nominated my elder daughter, so she's the sole owner of my flat. We treat the word nominee as a synonym for heir. But historically, what tends to happen is that this belief shatters the moment a claim is filed. The legal reality is entirely different, and operating on this assumption is a financial hazard. But most people stop here, and that is the mistake. We need to define what a nomination actually does. In simple words, a nominee is just a facilitator. Think of them as a trusted delivery person. When you name a nominee for your bank account or your demat provider or your employee provident fund, you're essentially giving the institution permission to release the funds to that specific person. The institution, whether it's a bank or an asset management company, just wants a valid discharge. They want to hand over the money to the person you pointed to, wash their hands of the liability, and close the account. They are not declaring that person the legal owner of the money. Let us look at the other side of the equation. What exactly is a will? A will is the ultimate legal document that clearly states who should finally inherit your assets after your death. While a nomination only covers a specific financial account, a will provides a comprehensive umbrella over everything you own. It covers your real estate property, your physical gold and jewelry, your business interests, your bank balances, and increasingly importantly, your digital assets. A will is your voice when you're no longer around, dictating the final ownership of the wealth you spent a lifetime accumulating. Think of it this way. The core rule governing Indian succession is that the nominee is merely a receiver, a trustee holding the asset in a fiduciary capacity. The legal heir or the beneficiary explicitly named in your will is the final absolute owner. When the bank hands over your fixed deposit to your nominee, the law expects that nominee to hold those funds safely and then distribute them to your rightful legal heirs as per your will. If you do not have a will, the nominee must distribute the funds according to the laws of succession. The nominee cannot simply pocket the money if they are not the designated legal heir. They are legally bound to hand it over. And this is the part most investors overlook. You cannot treat all nominations exactly alike because different asset classes have very different institutional rules and separate regulatory guidelines. For instance, Securities and Exchange Board of India rules govern your demat holdings differently than how the Reserve Bank of India governs standard banking deposits. Your bank deposits, your demat accounts holding company shares, your mutual funds, your public provident fund, and your housing society flats all operate under slightly different procedural frameworks.
For example, a cooperative housing society might easily transfer the share certificate to the nominee to manage society dues, but that still does not make the nominee the absolute owner of the flat. The legal heirs can still step in and claim their rightful ownership percentage at any given point in time through the civil courts. Knowing exactly how each unique asset behaves is absolutely crucial for seamless and effective financial planning. Here's what the data actually shows when we look at the one major exception to this overarching rule. Life insurance policies have very special regulations. Under the Insurance Act, if you nominate your parents, your spouse, or your children, they are formally classified as beneficial nominees. In this specific scenario, the law actually grants them the absolute ownership of the death benefit. The money belongs entirely to them, overriding other general legal heirs. This was designed to ensure immediate financial protection for immediate dependents without them having to fight legal battles against extended family members. So your insurance nomination requires highly careful separate attention. But what happens when there's absolutely no will in place? If a person passes away intestate, which is the legal term for dying without a will, the assets don't just permanently belong to the nominee. Instead, the wealth passes according to strict personal succession laws based entirely on the religion of the individual. This could be the Hindu Succession Act, Muslim Personal Law, or the Indian Succession Act. The code decides exactly who gets what specific percentage of your wealth. Consider, a father has 2 children. He names his elder son as the sole nominee in his primary bank account for sheer convenience. However, he later writes a will clearly stating that all his bank balances should be divided equally, 50% to each child. Who gets the money? The bank will initially release the entire funds to the elder son because he is the registered nominee, but the younger child has the absolute legal right to demand their 50% share based on the will. If the elder son refuses, it becomes a bitter family lawsuit. This is exactly why your nominations and your will must match perfectly. What this means is you need a very practical framework to fix this gap. First, sit down and make a complete master list of all your assets, including your digital footprint. Second, check and properly update the nominees across every single account, ensuring the names precisely reflect your current wishes. Third, draft a clear, legally valid will. You don't always need extremely complex legal language, but you absolutely need complete clarity. Appoint a highly trustworthy executor to manage the final distribution. Ensure your will is formally signed by 2 independent and reliable witnesses. Finally, remember that estate planning is not a one-time event. You must review your documents after major life changes like a marriage, a divorce, the birth of a child, a death in the family, or purchasing a major asset like real estate. The insight here is straightforward. Nomination helps transfer the wealth, while a will determines the true inheritance of the wealth. To build clean succession planning, Indian investors truly need both elements working together flawlessly. Everything we've covered today is purely for educational learning. Your financial decisions should always be based on your own independent research and, if needed, direct guidance from a qualified financial advisor. Please subscribe, comment with your questions, and share this with someone who needs to hear this.